You're listening to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast. This is your host, Kiyan, Sobhani. And I hope my voice is okay. Do not have my mic here in Madrid, but we make do with what we have. And these are first world problems, and hopefully you guys will be okay with listening to my voice like this. Joining me, as always, to cover the weekend of Spanish football and talk about other things that are relevant to La Liga is my co-host Diego Lorijn. Diego, how are you doing?
Very good, Kiyan, and may I say that your voice sounds splendid, as always.
Muchas gracias, amigo. I appreciate it. Your country is...
In fact, you know what? You sound a little bit more Spanish. Is that possible?
Yeah, but you know, like when you hear everything rubs off on you, right? So it's like a switch you flip on and off. You get Canadianized. Then you get the Spanish influence, and then you go somewhere else and you become Portuguese, you go somewhere else, you become Indian. It's just, this is what happens to humans. It's our nature.
That's it. For those listeners that don't know, the reason I say is because our man Kiyan is in the motherland. He's in the old continent. He's over in the Spanish nation's capital of Madrid.
That I am. And the benefit is always, the biggest benefit is always time zone. Time zone, just being here is not being up at 7 a.m. to catch games in La Liga, or, you know, missing dinner or whatever. It's nice, and it's nice to be in the time zone. It sucks to watch the NBA though, I'll say that.
It does, man. I'm a big NBA buff, and it's just awful. Here the equivalent to Sky Sports, or what's the equivalent to Sky Sports in Canada? Is it Being? What's like the paid satellite, like pay TV in Canada?
Well, we get ESPN, we get TSN.
Okay, well, but the cable provider is it like?
You know what? I honestly, because I haven't watched TV in 10 years, I just watch everything online. But in terms of network, it's TSN is the big one.
TSN. Okay, so here the equivalent to TSN for Spain, it's called Canal Plus. Actually, it was Canal Plus until last year. Until now, it's Movistar Plus. But the NBA program on Movistar Plus is called NBA Generation, NBA Generación. But they have a hashtag. Their slogan is "Dormir es de cobardes," which literally translates to sleeping is for pussies. Not really in those words, but I know that's what they're trying to say. And they try so hard to get people to stay awake until 3-4 a.m. to watch the matches. They broadcast good games. You get the Warriors Spurs, and they broadcast on a nightly basis. But to get people to stay awake until, like I said, 3-4 a.m. And I'm talking about tip-off at 3-4 a.m. So, when you have a 3 a.m. tip-off, you're going to be sitting there, if you're watching it live, until 6 a.m. or something. And it's impossible. You can't do it. Yeah. You cannot do it.
No, look, even being in North America, I can't watch West Coast games that start at like 11 p.m. on the East Coast. It's like I'm done at that. I'm so mentally checked out at that point. Like, I've been awake probably, you know how early I wake up, because I much prefer to be up early, like before the sun rises, than be awake overnight. But I know plenty of people who are up at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., they go to bed, they sleep all day, and it's annoying for me because I'm texting them at like 6 a.m. I don't hear from them until like 6 p.m. I don't know how people do it. Those West Coast games, forget about it. I had to do this regularly when I covered the Raptors, and once I started covering Real Madrid, I was like, I'm done. I get to work in the daytime, and that's all I want.
I have to say, in parentheses, you are a bit of a special case, because saying everything you just said, in the same breath, you should also add that you do wake up on a weekend at, say, 5 a.m. to catch a Leganés Eibar game. which is bizarre also.
No, but I should clarify. And I wake up closer to 4:30, and I should clarify. I don't wake up to watch Spanish football. I wake up because I'm up anyway, and I just there's something I can't explain it. There's something therapeutic, meditative, spiritual about being awake when no one else isn't, and it's dark, and having a coffee and just doing things. You just feel like you just feel good. It sets the tone for the day.
You work out?
I work out.
What time?
First thing, I work up fasted, so I do coffee, make my coffee, and then I'm off to the gym, and I get to the gym around 5:30.
Wow.
Here in Spain, it's messed up. I'm going to go to the gym right. What is it? 4:30 CET. I'm going to go a bit later tonight. My good pal Ronaldo owns a gym just like down the block, CR7 Fitness. I'm going to go work out there. Yeah. But
what do you get in? So you get in 5:30, and what? You hit the treadmill, hit the weights. What do you do?
This is oddly off topic, but it's no. I hate cardio. Forget it. I forget about it. I do like calisthenics, weights, a lot of just like I don't know if it qualifies as CrossFit, but a lot of just quick movement, push-ups, pull-ups. Burpees, jump squats, all that stuff with weights and different stuff. But cardio, forget about it, man. I'll 5 minutes of cardio and I'm dying. I don't like it. It's boring.
You got a weak heart, man. Your heart is a muscle.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's you get your cardio with the aerobic activity, like just with the weights and stuff.
I get that, but it's also good to do cardio exercise at a kind of a steady rate for a certain amount of time.
No, cardio is enemy.
Listen, I'm the least. I don't like cardio whatsoever, but I do try to squeeze it in. I've gotten super into spinning for a good year and a half. That's how I get my cardio.
Give me a basketball or a football, I'll do cardio for hours. But running, especially on a treadmill,
I don't do running.
It's the worst. Yeah. Running outside is nice, but.
I mix up spinning with body pump. I'm really big into body pump as well.
Okay. Yeah. I like it. Body pump is good. It's tough. I have my cousin in Madrid who she always tried to twist my arm into doing these body pump things, and I realize how out of shape I am when I work out with her because the body weight and the quick movements and all that body pump stuff, it's crazy difficult. Like it's on another level.
Yeah.
This is a nerve-wracking week for me. For some reason I thought Chelsea Barca is this week, but it's not because I checked Chelsea's schedule and they were playing today, and I was like, what? How can they play the day before their Champions League game? But then I realized you're playing next week. So then your nerve-wracking week is next week. Mine is this week.
Yeah.
What did you think of you watched the game against Sociedad? What were your thoughts?
Well, listen, I had predicted a deep into stoppage time Sociedad win, and that didn't come true whatsoever. I thought look, like what was once considered a La Liga, could we say, cracker, is now just another La Liga fixture. I mean, you have Real Sociedad sitting in 14th. You have Madrid sitting in 4th. What was this? Sociedad had won only, I think it was 2 of their last 10 matches. And, Madrid is a bit of a shadow of itself as well. So I thought that Madrid would be more kind of mentally preparing themselves for their big clash ahead on Wednesday, and that perhaps Sociedad, seeing that they are quite well clear of relegation, not fully, but I thought that Sociedad, coming off a 5-0 win against Deportivo the weekend before, that they would be more engaged. But, it was the complete opposite. In fact, Madrid looked very enchufado, as they say here, kind of, plugged in and engaged and hungry and ambitious. Ronaldo's back. Madrid is back. Liga, baby. What's going to happen? So
if there's any Liga in any scenario, it's Atleti. It's not us, and even that is very debatable.
Yeah. Or, well, I mean, at least it was all, watch out PSG, watch out PSG, because Madrid is back again.
No, please,
And
please, no.
it's exciting, man.
It's not.
It's
What's
exciting.
interesting is so okay. There's a lot to even what you just said to kind of break down, but I thought that this game would be a banana peel for Real Madrid because one, Sociedad, as you mentioned, were coming up that 5-0 win, and then they look really good. Players in form.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had our minds on PSG, which no matter how much Zidane says it's not, it is. And but you know what's interesting is that we had the same scenario earlier in the season when we played Sociedad at Anoeta, because at that time Real Madrid was struggling and Real Sociedad were flying to start the season. I don't know if you remember, but like when the season started, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Sociedad, Champions League place contender." Worst case, Europa League, they're flying, they're amazing. Odriozola, Oyarzabal, these guys are all in form, blah, blah, blah. And then they went into that game and Real Madrid just took them apart. And the same thing happened in this game.
Yeah.
And,
You're right.
And then you kind of zoom out and you look at Sociedad's season and you remember how much of a disaster they generally are game in, game out. And an emphatic win against a terrible, terrible, terrible Deportivo team is, it's a nice result. They played good, but I guess how much do you take away from it? And that just kind of unraveled, and they collapsed.
If anything, it was and not that I for a minute thought that this was really going to happen, but Madrid taking their foot off the accelerator in the second half allowed Real Sociedad to more or less kind of get back into the game. They obviously, I'm not insinuating here that I seriously thought that there was going to be a remontada in the second half. However, this is a kind of a trend that we see happen quite often, whereas what we are used to seeing from Barca is that maybe the first half they play a bit sluggish and then eventually they take care of business. We've seen the opposite of Madrid this season, a very kind of energetic first half and them getting disengaged in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. The second half collapses have been very difficult to explain, and they've been recurring. And I think in the first half they built themselves enough of a cushion where, and that was the problem, right? Because so many times this season we haven't been meeting our XG, finishing hasn't been there, and if you don't take advantage of your first half performance and your second half, you collapse the way they have been collapsing, then if you don't have that cushion, you're going to be in trouble. And they built up the cushion. I think the second half in this game in particular, it's kind of natural. Like one of the things I took away from this game in particular, among the Ronaldo hat trick and the first half being really well, the build up was good, is that the press was actually good in this game. And that's something you're going to really need against PSG, who I think the most notable case this season, when Lyon pressed them and beat them earlier this season, they looked really uncomfortable. And if you can kind of get that habit going now against PSG, which you're going to need to be really efficient with your press, that's a good sign. And then the second half, I think it was natural that we were looking ahead, the complacency, energy conservation. It was kind of normal to kind of just regress a bit. But
of course.
Was there, yeah.
Of course. I'll tell you what lo que a mí me llamó mucho la atención, what really grabbed my attention after the match. And we all know that Madrid is perfectly capable of, slotting past 5 goals against the poor Real Sociedad side and Ronaldo getting a hat-trick on any given occasion. We all know that. We've all seen that in the past. What really grabbed my attention, however, was 2 things. The sheer hatred that Madridistas have towards Benzema at this moment in time. It's to me, it's quite shocking. I almost feel bad for him. The abuse that he gets from within the Bernabeu loyals, but also obviously on social media. Now, you can take that as you want on social media, but it was still something that really kind of, shocked me a little bit. And at the same time, how after scoring a hat-trick, how now it's all praises for Ronaldo again, and that's why he's the best in the world, and that's why he's considered the best or one of the best ever, and et cetera, et cetera. How basically how I guess flaky both media and fans are, and how disproportionate really things are after either a loss or a victory. Because of course, I mean this victory was also important for Madrid. We talked about it last week. We talked about momentum and how important of a factor that is, and psychologically coming off of a 5-goal victory is obviously good for the confidence for Madrid, in Madrid's case, before facing a juggernaut the likes of PSG. However, I just felt that both celebrations and criticisms were way were just disproportionate and unfair, really.
Well, I think we all know by now sports fans are bipolar. And
of course,
I used to think, just because I was in my own bubble of Real Madrid fans, I used to think it was a unique thing to Real Madrid fans, but it's not. And you kind of just see it in the NBA how ridiculous it is, right? Like the Cavaliers, all of a sudden they have this new team. They destroyed the Celtics last night, and everyone's like, "Oh, there they are, contenders. Yep, they're winning it." Like from how quickly we've gone 24 hours and seeing them play one game, we've jumped to everything. Every assumption we can make, we make. It was nice. Like the Raptors had like a 4-hour window where like, oh, Raptors might come out of the East. And it was nice to get some attention. We never get attention.
Oh, yeah.
But this is kind of like, look, I mean, with Benzema's case, it's been long going. The Ronaldo thing is crazy. I saw a crazy stat today that Ronaldo actually has 2 more goals this season at this stage than he did at this stage last season, which is a bit of a surprising stat because isn't that's surprising, right?
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's all competition, so it's not just La Liga, but I mean, the fact that he's starting to score a bit in the past few games has helped bring the tally up. I think with Benzema's case, it's been a bit more of a longer rut, and naturally, Ronaldo, if his leash is what it is, being arguably the best player in Real Madrid history, in my opinion, he is. Then what is Benzema's leash going to be? It's going to be way smaller, and he's been okay off in terms of everything but scoring. His finishing has been abysmal for a while now, and the fact that Ronaldo hasn't been scoring as prolifically as he once was really magnifies Benzema's weakness in front of goal right now. And
sure. I just feel like, I mean, that one chance in particular that he had, where it actually got deflected out for a corner, and he got so much abuse shouted his direction. And I'm thinking, his finishing could have been on goal if it wasn't for I'm not sure who it was from Sociedad who deflected it, but it was a corner. A fair game to the defense in this case. I mean, why should that be? Why should Benzema catch so much slack for that? I didn't really. Well, it was unfair.
Look,
misplaced.
Even this debate is polarizing because a lot of people feel extreme one way or the other. Some people feel that you should never boo your own players because what good are you really doing? If you do it in a big game, especially when you're booing your players, are you doing a disservice to the team you support and decreasing their morale, decreasing their chance? The other camp will say, no, absolutely, the fans have the right to boo, and we are socios, and we have a say in this, and if we're not happy with the product, we should be able to voice it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm in the camp that I don't understand. I've always been a glass half full type of guy, and I always try to be optimistic. Not optimistic. I try to be supportive and at least kind of put things into perspective and be objective before I criticize, right? I would say, well, let me flip this and ask you this. Suarez was whistled earlier this season, and he was really poor. Do you think that was justified or no?
Remind me, the game, I don't remember that.
Yeah. Bro, we even talked about it on the pod. He was whistled.
We did?
Yeah. Don't ask me which game it was, but we remember his form this season, right? Earlier.
Of course.
And things just weren't going his way. And and one of the games, I don't remember which one, it got to a point where he looked really bad and had hit rock bottom for him. And now, obviously, he's way back.
I remember.
To his best.
I remember. Of course, I remember how substandard his form was at the beginning of the season and how much heat he was catching on social media. I don't remember the entire Camp Nou, however, aiming and directing whistles and boos towards him. So yeah, sorry, and that's not because I'm not doing this on purpose. I literally don't remember that.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, look, has it happened in the past in the Camp Nou? Of course, and
yeah, look,
I think some cases it's more justified, others it's not. However, I mean, look at Ronaldo's reaction when Benzema was catching so much shit from the audience. He turned around and he was like, "Stop doing it."
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
Do you remember? Do you remember last? Yeah, of course I did. Do you remember last week when I told you on the podcast? It's for reasons like that players like Ronaldo, Bale, and Benzema play better away from home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, these are the things I was alluding to: the pressure, the expectations, and the moaning and groaning, and the getting restless in their seats. All of that cuts through the players. Which it doesn't away from home. One more note I will say about, I guess, Real Madrid in general. You said earlier, you're like, oh my God, Real Madrid is back, and I'm sure you were half joking, and for sure you weren't serious when you said Liga. But I was doing a podcast yesterday with Jonathan Johnson, who was the PSG French correspondent for ESPN FC. And he's someone who's with the team all the time. He's a beat reporter. And it's interesting what he said, that their perspective is heading into this game. It's like the same anxiety and I guess fear and concern that Real Madrid has going into this game, and fans have, and media has, and they've been talking about it. And they actually have this sense that Real Madrid has kind of just woken up, and lucky for them, just in time for them. And they're worried about Mbappe's form because he's cooled off a lot. Cavani's not 100%, and they just have concerns. So it's interesting, kind of both perspectives heading into this game, and for both of them, it's make or break for their season, because for Real Madrid, they have nothing else to play for, and for PSG, obviously they still have Liga, and they just care more about Europe, and that's a fact. And Emery's entire job is on the line here.
Absolutely. It doesn't surprise me, Kiyan, that Jonathan feels this way. And I would feel the exact same way if say it was a Barca Madrid. Anytime you face a club like Madrid, you're going to be wary regardless of what the form is, and more so when it's in, quote unquote, their favorite competition, right? In the Champions League, where they have just been performing ever so strongly these past few years. Take into account as well that you just mentioned it yourself. This is everything for PSG. All the money I don't know if does it get to the billions at this point? The billions that they've spent trying to make this team a competitive or a serious European powerhouse and a competitor within the Champions League. It's all for the Champions League. Make no mistake. The Ligue 1 means nothing for them at this point. It's Ligue 1 is a must. And also the Champions League at this point is a must. If it's not the Champions League, then what are we getting all these guys? What are we getting these players in for? And not to be competitive within the French league. So of course they're nervous because they're playing the most successful club in that competition ever. So you're going to be a little bit, PSG is the rookie. Real Madrid is the old dog here, is the veteran that has, I don't want to say that has nothing left to prove, but they're the most successful club in the history of that competition. And PSG is un mocoso. No quiero faltar respeto. I don't want to be disrespectful, but they're a little snot. I don't know if that really translates well, but they're nothing.
Well, yeah. I'm cautious to ever say anything like that about an opponent and jinxing anything. But your point is that They need to prove
They have
themselves,
still
right?
everything to prove. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, on paper, they're on PlayStation paper. They're the one of the best sides, and you want to play with them and you want to watch them, and they're amazing. But they haven't proved anything yet. They have everything to play for, so they're going to be nervous. I mean, Neymar has been saying it for the past 2-3 weeks. He said, "I couldn't be any more anxious for this game. I want it to be now." Like they, this is all that they're playing for. So yeah, man,
Barca Getafe.
it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it'll be exciting for you and neutrals, and it'll be, for me, it's a balance of being a journalist and writing about the game, and at the same time keeping my heart rate down.
Yeah.
Barca and Getafe. Yerry Mina and Dean, the center back partnership by default. Which
stars of the match.
I really liked Yerry Mina. I saw enough in this. The first time I've ever seen him play was this game, and I saw enough tools from him in terms of athletic ability, intelligence, his distribution with the ball, his ability. Like the guy was freaking. I felt like I was watching Puyol. Like you had this feeling when Puyol played. If Barca had a corner or Spain had a corner, you just knew Puyol was going to get his head on it.
It's going to get there, yeah.
I feel that way about Yerry Mina in this one game I've watched him play. So he was getting to headers. Great distributor. His passing stats were fantastic. 3 tackles, 2 interceptions, 2 clearances, a block shot. And I thought he looked good.
Yeah, man. I couldn't agree with you more. I thought he looked very good. He's still obviously. It's very hard to take away any definitive conclusions after just one match, but right now it leaves us, culés, feeling with a lot of optimism and excitement to continue to see his development and see him progress. He could have gotten the game winner. The only but, if I can say anything, is that I maybe would have liked him to see him basically distribute the ball a little bit quicker, maybe to the midfield. But I was very excited. I was excited seeing both him and Digne as center back. I thought that Digne played a formidable match in that position, seeing as he's more known for his subpar performances over there on the flank. I thought as center back he played a decent match. So that was my biggest concern, was how are these two going to be playing? Because I told you last week I thought that Vermaelen was going to be back for this match.
Right. And
he wasn't, of course.
Yeah. And I was questioning your optimism. You were like, oh, PK being injured is great silver lining. I was like,
it's great. Yeah. So that switch when I realized that actually Vermaelen is not coming back yet, and it's going to be Digne, and I was thinking, oh my goodness. But I mean, look, it was besides the two star center backs, I thought that besides the 2 star center backs, that Barca's performance, of course, was one to forget. The second consecutive draw in a moment where we are also... Now it's the crucial part of the season, right? We're now in the second half, well into the second half of the season, and the last thing that we wanted was to give hope to Atletico in this case. Atletico, we had them 11 points clear of us, I think it was only 15 days ago, and now that lead has been cut down to 7 points. I would have preferred to have kept it at 9. It wasn't possible. We drew 0-0. Last time we went goalless in the Camp Nou was 15 months ago. So, it's not a performance that we can be happy with. However, having said that, and this ties into a little bit what we were talking about before in terms of the over-exaggeration when it comes to fans. And you're right, it's not only merengues who have this trait, but also culés. The drama and the chaos and that some people start spewing via the social media outlets it's beyond me. I cannot fathom why people go from sheer optimism to just complete and utter panic after, let's not forget, this was a draw, guys. We remain unbeaten. We remain unbeaten. The squad remains top of La Liga with 7 points. There was something really funny that I was thinking about as I was reflecting and going through some of the comments. Two things. I was thinking 5 months ago, if I would have told you that we would have been 7 points clear over our closest La Liga rival, I think anybody would have signed that piece of paper. First of all, no doubt about it. If I would have said, "Look, we're we've just sealed our tickets to our 5th consecutive Copa del Rey final, beating Valencia. We're facing Chelsea in the Champions League, and we're 7 points clear of La Liga," I think everybody would have called me crazy. Impossible. This is going to be our worst season ever. First of all. Second of all, how funny is it that imagine we would have been, say, imagine we would have been 2 weeks ago, we would have been 4 points clear, and now we would have been 7 points clear. Mm-hmm. Everybody would have said, the papers would have said, La Liga's finished. It's over. Forget it. You see what I'm trying to say? Yeah. It's funny how when points are cut, everybody tries to make you nervous. Whereas, like, if you extend the lead, everybody would have said, "Oh, it's finished." And we're talking about the same 7 points at the end of the day. Do I think that La Liga is over? No, I don't. I was interviewing culés outside of the Camp Nou. A vast majority thought that La Liga is still finished. I think that there's still a lot to play for. I do think that we are still in a comfortable lead. But we need to be wary and we need to step up. But can we give these players a little bit of leeway, a little bit of trust? Can we give Valverde a little bit of patience and trust as well? The manager, I said it to you, we talked about it last week too, and this was my fear to begin with, is that we are now in preseason mode. Estamos en pretemporada. We have Coutinho that needs to be incorporated. We have Dembele that needs to be incorporated. We have Yerry Mina that needs to be incorporated. Valverde had a fantastic team playing a 4-4-2. Everything was working out, swimmingly. Now he needs to figure it out again. Are we going back to a 4-3-3, trying to incorporate Coutinho and Dembele? What style are we going to play? What are we going to do now? There's a lot of things on his plate right now. And I just think rather than losing our shit, we need to just be, trustworthy of Valverde and his capabilities, what he's shown us so far. As he's shown us that he's completely capable of managing this squad. And let's be patient, guys. Take a little bit of a breath, for goodness sake. I'm flabbergasted by how people, how panicky and all of a sudden, we're going to lose this. It's awful now. You see, and Coutinho is crap. And how could we have spent so much money on Dembele? They're shit. And oh my God. It's like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, sorry. I need to let that out.
That was one of your best monologues of all time, actually. That was fantastic. I don't think I can refute anything you said. I think we have a tendency to look at things without context. And look, let's pretend that if someone showed us the standings, the current standings back in the summertime, we didn't know anything about the season. We just saw that Barca has a 7-point lead. And I think we would have said, we would have been surprised, first of all, obviously, just knowing Barca's state. But I think we'd also would have said, I would have said La Liga isn't over. Because 7 points is not that much.
No.
And we're just over halfway into the league. But the context is important. So this team still hasn't lost yet. Has shown signs of, some signs of wear and tear. And Valverde has rested players in previous games, and in this one, you didn't necessarily rest players, but the context of new defensive line, which played great, and Getafe, one of the most organized teams in La Liga, and
exactly, Kiyan. Let's give credit to Getafe here. They played very well defensively. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Getafe. From them, this was super impressive because they've had a lot of impressive games this season, and we've talked about them. The organization has made them difficult for even Real Madrid, Valencia, and now Barca. And I thought it was very clear. They kept Angel on high, and they ceded possession. They let Barca have the ball, and they barely had it themselves. But they were just as dangerous. I'd argue maybe even more dangerous with the chances they had, because they kind of scuffed some counterattacks and made some bad decisions in the final third. But what they did really well was, despite Barca having so much of the ball, they only made one key pass in the first half. And I thought it was amazing the way they stifled them. You look at the front three plus Coutinho, and they were all quiet. Messi, Suarez, Coutinho, and Alcácer, all quiet. And that's really difficult to do if you're the opposition. That's really rare. So I think they played well, and I would say Amath did tremendous at reading the passing lanes and joining the attack and supporting Angel on the counter. His pace is ridiculous. We know that. Ter Stegen, had to be alert dealing with the high line because Barca were exposed, and he dealt with it really well. Apart from that one time in the second half, he came out and Gaku just couldn't hit the target. So that was impressive. Getafe defended really well, and they should be proud. It was good.
They should. I agree with you. There was the only, and I'm going to go quickly back to Barca here. The only hope or wish that I have is that Dembele does not play scared, and that he gets the continuation and the trust of Valverde to start him in the starting 11. You know what I mean? I think injuries are also affected by the psychological state of a player. And I saw Dembele a little bit scared yesterday. He every time he had 3 or 4 times or 2 or 3 times that he slipped over the ball, and every time he did, I grabbed my hairs. I was pulling out my hairs thinking, oh my gosh, here he goes again, he's injured, and he's probably thinking the exact same thing. Why also begs the question, why is he falling so much? Is it the boots, or is it because he's playing over anxious? I felt, and this is not a criticism to him, because we know that he's capable of playing at a very high level. That's the reason why he was bought for the price, and he's with one of the best clubs in the world right now. So he's capable of doing it. I just hope that Valverde is able to give him the confidence to play at the level that he's used to, So maybe not. And I say that by, and I don't know if this happens with Bale. I mean, you know me, you'll know that better than me. But rather than overprotecting a player, say, go out there. You're good to go. Start. You play the full 90 minutes, or play in the starting 11 at least, as opposed to seeing how the game pans itself out and then giving him 20, 25 minutes to hopefully sort it out. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's got to be a confidence thing. It's got to be the pressure, the expectations, his price tag, his youth, his inexperience. We know his talent. We know what it is. His ceiling is crazy high, and I think it's got to be nervousness and mental thing. It's hard for me to chalk it up to, like you asked, is it his boots? Is it his confidence? It's his confidence. His boots, whatever. But he misplaced 6 passes in his limited time on the field. He was dispossessed 3 times, and he just needs to get into a groove. He needs some rhythm. He needs some continuity, and he's a kid who's been injured, for God's sake. That's another bipolar reaction. If anyone is reacting to this game and saying he's a bust. By the way, I tweeted about Dembele, and more Barca fans are finding my tweets and really, I don't even know what they're saying half the time, but they think I'm taking a dig at their team, and they get really offended. And I tweeted.
What did you say? I didn't see your tweet.
I honestly, it was so innocent, and I tweeted. I basically just tweeted Dembele's stats in his limited time on the field, and one Barca fan whose Twitter name was Dembele Ballon d'Or or something was not happy with me. And also Facebook, my Facebook page. I don't know, Mike. It must be because of you. And this is my collaboration with you has opened a new portal that I never knew existed of Barcelona fans engaging with me, which is quite entertaining. We won't take any questions this week, but we will do this thing we've been trying to do every week, which is called Rapid Fire, which is we go and talk 10 seconds about every La Liga game. And we never really get to do that idea that we have because we just talk too much about other things like morning routines and waking up at 4:30 and cardio versus weights and God knows what else. So I'm going to go through all the scores in La Liga. Obviously, we don't know the Monday night game yet because it hasn't happened, but I'll just say the score and you can talk for 5 seconds, I'll talk for 5 seconds, and we'll move on, okay? And these will not be in chronological order because we're just not that organized. So here goes. Valencia 3, Levante 1. Levante gets absolutely screwed. 1-1, 65th minute or something. They score a header off a corner. Perfectly legal goal. Disallowed for a phantom call. And they lose the game 3-1.
Yeah, very, very tough loss for Levante. Good derby, good Valencian derby. But yeah, like you said, very tough loss for Levante. Absolutely crazy call that you think VAR is going to take care of these things next year. Let's see.
We'll see. There will be a lot of kinks, but it's needed. We talked about this last week. Was it last week we said, or 2 weeks ago, where Barcelona, there was controversy with the referee. I don't remember which game it was now.
Yeah.
And we said, look, every single team's, any size gets screwed, and we just don't hear about it. And this is the case. This would have been blown up much more if it was Real Madrid or Barca. By the way, Santi Mina and Luciano Vieto both in really good form. Crazy depth there with Zaza and Rodrigo also playing well at Valencia.
Soler played good.
Yeah. But again, Levante a bit hard done by. Celta 2, Espanyol 2. A brace from Maxi, and a beautiful equalizer from Gerard Moreno in the 87th minute.
Good game that, but didn't really help either team. In particular, Celta, who would have been looking to win that to compete for the European spots.
Yeah, Celta needed that to creep up and catch up to Eibar. Which brings us to Eibar. Eibar beating Leganés 1-0 away from home at Butarque. A 95th minute winner from Ivan Ramis. They're 6th place now. No, 7th place, sorry. I think they were 6th place for a second, but then Sevilla won. Their surge is unbelievable. Villarreal 1, Alaves 2. Abelardo's... Speaking of surges, ever since Abelardo took over, they're just flying. 19 points from 9 games. Their only losses came against Barca and Bilbao. Just amazing. And
may I just remind everybody that the loss against Barca was a very tough loss. That could have probably been played very well.
The last 2 games, Diego, I have no notes for because they were boring. Malaga 0, Atletico Madrid 1, and Bilbao 0, Las Palmas 0. That's all I got, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I'll just add to that the Sevilla Girona match. Which,
did I miss that one?
You missed that one.
Sorry, no,
you didn't mention it. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
That was a very, very tough loss on Girona as well. And Girona showed excellent form. Basically dominated that entire second half. After going down in the first half, and if it wasn't for I think it was Sergio Rico in goal.
Sergio Rico was amazing.
They definitely.
He saved the penalty.
Tough.
And he also saved 3 clear-cut chances. So 4 really clear goal-scoring opportunities. He just denied them.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad we did rapid fire for once. Feel good about it. All right, so we'll catch you next week. And in the meantime, keep me in your prayers.
Yeah, well, so next week we'll do the pod from Spain as well. You'll still be here around?
No, I'll be back. Basically,
you're back in
the morning after PSG, I'm bouncing. I'll be back, and so we can talk about that game. And then we'll set up the Chelsea game.
Perfect.
Okay, Diego, always a
Sounds
pleasure.
good, Kiyan.
We'll talk next week.
Sounds good, buddy. Have a good one.